snap is back, throwing it deep down the left side into the end zone for Gallup. The ball is broken up, incomplete.
Unfortunately, we didn't get the job done, and we all have to own it. I have to own it. The coaching staff has to own it.
Do you have a timetable when you're going to make a decision?
No.
How much do you want to be the coach here in 2020?
Yeah, I want to be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, Jason Garrett, the Cowboys head coach, remains in limbo, and we don't know when the Cowboys are going to let us know whether or not Garrett will continue. It's a Tuesday edition of Pro Football Talk Live. The last PFT Live
of the decade.
Of the year. Of the decade. Not just the year, but the decade. If we believe that the decade begins 2020. You know, there are some folks out there.
How can that even be? How
take
can that
issue.
Even be?
I know, but I hear from them all the time, and now that you brought it up, I'm going to hear from them again. The decade doesn't end until the end of 2020. But either way,
so when we
celebrate, we can agree on that. Can we agree it's the end of the year?
Well, yeah, but no. I want to get into the better topic here. What? How could that be? So it wasn't the end of the 20th century when we celebrated, you know, the year 2000. That was not it. It really was 2001.
Where were you through all? Were you in some sort of a haze?
Because I don't pay attention to stupid. No. So when stupid happens, I decide to check out. Yeah.
The new millennium actually began, according to many, January 1 of 2001, not January 1 of 2000. That's a 20-year-old fact. So
it's a fact or just some stupid internet rumor? I mean, what is it?
No, the fact is that there are people who will insist that January 1, 2000 is meaningless as it relates to the changing of a millennium, that it was the year after that. So the point is, I understand why there are people out there, a subset of the millennium truthers who are now decade truthers, who are saying that the new decade doesn't begin until a year from now. And look, I don't care either way.
So was I not born?
I
was born in 1980. So was I not born in the 80s, or does that really count as the 70s? I don't know now. I'm confused.
Okay. Are you done?
No, I'm just, that's the dumbest crap ever. It's the new decade coming up. Tomorrow is the new decade. Sorry,
That's
everybody.
fine. I'm not fighting you on it. I'm just pointing out that once you say it, you've guaranteed that I'm going to get 15 emails in the next 15 seconds from people who are saying the new decade doesn't begin until next year. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We have far more important things to discuss because we have coaching vacancies, and we actually have one coaching vacancy that isn't a vacancy yet because the Cowboys are going to milk this thing for all it's worth. And, Chris, there are some who believe that this is just an effort by Jerry Jones, the consummate salesman, to take over as many news cycles as he can. Why fire a coach on Monday when you can string it out and everybody's talking about the Cowboys? You know, when they name a pope, there's just one puff of white smoke. Well, maybe they can come up with multiple puffs of smoke, and we can be paying attention to the Cowboys and only the Cowboys throughout this job search. From the moment they have a vacancy to the moment they start doing interviews to the moment they finally fill the vacancy, they can corner the market on buzz, on chatter, on attention. So I don't know how much of that is part of this. There's no reason at this point to think that they aren't going to fire Jason Garrett, but they definitely are taking their time, and they're going to meet with him reportedly again today. They met with him yesterday. Some think that basically what they're trying to do is just simply give him time to make the proper exit, talk to everybody he needs to talk to. You know, he's been there a long time. He's been with the organization for well over a decade.
Yeah.
But anyway, the bottom line is Jason Garrett still not fired. Black Monday has come and gone, and we're just waiting for the Cowboys to let us know what they're going to do. And think about this. Stephen and Jerry Jones, they love to talk. They canceled their appearances for early this week on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. That tells you that this is a different time for the Cowboys, where they are choosing to be discreet and silent as this thing works its way through. But I think tomorrow, Wednesday, is the day to watch for some sort of a decision, and the decision is still expected to be Jason Garrett out as Cowboys coach after a true decade, a 10-year stint in the job. Whenever that decade began, it was a decade.
All right. First off, I don't believe the Jones family is very smart. We know that. We understand they know how to monetize. I don't believe for a second that, like, come on, they're doing this just for the extra news cycle. I don't know. I mean,
I wouldn't put that past them. It's smart. Well, that's part of being smart.
But why not do the interviews then? Then do the interviews and make some real news. Why would you cancel out of interviews then if you don't want? If you want to be the head of the news cycle, man, we'd all be tuned in to Jerry Jones and what he's got to say about the Cowboys or Stephen Jones. So I just challenge that. I might be wrong. You're right. They are smart. I get that, all of that. I also think they look at it and, they go, hey, this guy's been here for a decade, or he's, been here for longer than a decade. There's more than just Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett's father worked for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys at one point. And also, it is a big decision, and the Jones just don't take it lightly, and I just don't think they're just going to sit there and, just, oh, you're fired, right after the game. I just don't think they're that type of people. I do think there's a sense of loyalty here to Jason Garrett. They understand the type of man, human being he is, how hard he's worked. He's invested his life in that. He does it for good reasons. He tries to improve people, let alone be a really good football coach. And I think inevitably this all happens, Mike, right? I mean, it's just, I think they're probably giving Jason the respect to go around, do things he's got to do within the organization, and not make it look so, what do I want to say, just so severe, like, oh, we're chopping your head off right now, the game's over. At least that's my take on it.
They're giving him the respect, or at least what they think is the respect that he deserves for all of the time he's been with the team as a player, as an assistant coach,
right,
as a guy that they were trying to groom into the next Tom Landry. And they tried and they tried and they tried, and they're finally admitting that it didn't work, but they're treating him differently than other teams treat their coaches. They believe, if we're psychoanalyzing what they're really up to here, they believe he's earned that, so he gets a more elaborate exit than another coach would, who gets tapped on the shoulder on Sunday night and told you're out, like the Browns did with Freddie Kitchen. So I can understand that. I can understand that if they're doing that. But the clock is ticking.
Yes.
And other teams are lining up interviews, and you don't want this to linger, because the Senior Bowl is going to be here before you know it. You'd like to have a coach in place when it's time to go scout the players at the Senior Bowl.
Well, no doubt about it. But we know the most important scouts are the Jones family themselves. But, Mike, to me, the other thing that speaks to this, and I'm glad you brought it up, the fact that they're kind of, taking their time with this, and, everybody's getting the jump on them with interviews and getting their, head coaching candidates list all together and all of that. I just feel like the Cowboys know something we don't know. I just feel that way. That's why they're in no rush.
That they know who they're going to hire? Right. That they already know who they're going to hire?
Right. Like they, and again, this is total I'm just throwing out bull crap right here, but I'm just throwing an example. Like they maybe know Mike Zimmer's coming to the end in Minnesota, like you've said, or something like that.
I haven't said that. Oh, God, now you're going to get me in trouble.
I didn't mean like you said. The rumors are out there. There is plenty of rumors there. I mean, I read it all over the internet yesterday. So there is that thought that's there to be had. I mean, I saw too many even TV shows talking about, could this be Mike Zimmer's last game as the Minnesota Vikings head coach? But I'm just saying as an example. I don't know any of that. Mike Zimmer, please don't get pissed at me. I didn't mean it that way. I'm just trying to give an example that I feel like the Cowboys ownership, the Jones family, might really know what they're going to do with their next move, and that's why they're not in a big panic to get everything started here.
Yeah, I think that has something to do with it, and I think that when somebody just emailed me, is it a firing if the contract actually expires? Yes, it is. It is a firing if the contract expires.
That's interesting.
If the coach wants to stay and the team doesn't want him, the mere fact that the contract expired doesn't make it look, you still have to end the relationship, right? Under the laws of most states, when your contract expires, you become an at-will employee. You're still employed there until you resign. So, yes, it's still a firing if the Cowboys say to Jason Garrett, please kindly remove your things from the premises. But the bottom line is, I agree with you, that they know what they're going to do next. Most of these owners go into these processes knowing what they're going to do next. That's one of the reasons why the Rooney Rule in spirit doesn't necessarily work, because you're not going to compel a guy who knows who he wants to hire to not come to a decision as to who he wants to hire without regard to requirements that certain types of interviews be done. And I'm a believer in the Rooney Rule, and I think it needs to be tweaked. I think it needs to be modified. I think it needs to take into account that these owners do decide that they're going to hire this person without regard to what they're required to do. And there is benefit in still getting names of minority coaches into the mix. So we talk about them and they get interviews elsewhere, and it promotes so maybe at some point the guy who you decide on ahead of time falls into the category of a guy that maybe would have been overlooked because he didn't get those interviews in the past. So I'm still a supporter of it. But Jerry Jones is going to do what he's going to do. He's going to decide on who he wants to decide on.
Right.
And I think he already knows, even if it's not who it's going to be, he knows who number 1, number 2, number 3 on the wish list is. And he'd probably like to nail down number 1 before he moves on. But then you have to go out and do a search that seems like it is fully compliant. That's the other problem here. So, look, bottom line is, the Cowboys, I think, know what they're going to do. They know what they're doing. This isn't some accident. This is all part of a broader plan. And what they are ultimately going to do will reveal itself to us in due course.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.